Hello, everybody, and welcome to the TeacherCast Educational Network. My name is Jeff Bradbury.
And I'm Nick Amaral.
And thank you so much for joining us today. This is Ask the Tech Coach, episode number 42. Today, we're going to be doing our part 2 of our episode, How to Create a Tech Coach Brand. Nick, how are you today? How was the week that was?
It was good, Jeff. Wrapping up a lot of things, still working on a lot regarding Future Ready certification with my district. And now just starting to get into the thick of planning out the summer conference, and I'm trying to expand that into our sending district. So something kind of exciting. I'm trying to get a couple more hands involved as far as people from those sending districts so that it's more personalized to them as well.
It's great news to hear that you are keeping busy. We, of course, are getting ready for the park test. We're getting ready for second semester stuff. All these neat things are happening. And we just got finished wrapping up our second cohort of our Ask the Tech Coach Mastermind. Nick, it was a fantastic time to get a chance to know another crop of tech coaches out there. We had an opportunity not only to work with individual coaches, but also we had a few school districts that brought a team of tech coaches to us. Nick, what did you take away from our second cohort this year?
It was great, Jeff. Just the opportunity to again, build the PLN, build our mastermind group, get some people who are new to the role. So that was great to work with people who are looking for advice, looking to bounce ideas off of. And again, just extend the family. It's a close-knit group where we can talk to each other, we can share the issues that we have, and what we're finding often is that you're not the only person. I mean, from a first-year tech coach to a fourth-year tech coach, some of the issues that we run into arise for each of us at all of these different roles, and it's great to bounce that off and see how we would handle it.
And Nick, you said the word family, and that's exactly what we are intending this mastermind to be. Perhaps you're a tech coach in a 1-building school district, or perhaps you're a tech coach in 6 buildings. It's hard to figure out the job. It's hard to figure out who to lean on. You're not really a teacher. You're not an administrator. You're kind of you're kind of out there. We have a great program for you where not only can you learn how to do the things that your school district is asking you to do, but how to do them efficiently. Anybody who's in our mastermind gets a chance to have our monthly group meetings where we have a number of topics for how to help you out. We just got done talking about COPA FERPA. We're going to be rolling into an entire series now of how to become a tech coach. Because, Nick, we've got quite a few people in our group that not only are tech coaches, but want to become tech coaches for our future school year. And I think that is a great way to have a group of not only those who are, but those who want to, and it really does bring that whole family thing together.
Yeah, that was really cool, Jeff. That was a first for us with this, was having people who are aspiring to be, like you said, tech coaches or tech integration specialists, PD personnel, and want to get their hand in and see what it is. And these are individuals who their district has or building has kind of guided them into this role ever so slightly, where they're kind of expected to kind of help some teachers out here and there on the side, but they really want to make it a full-time position. So it was great to just share some knowledge with them and see what their expectations are.
It doesn't matter if you are a current tech coach looking to become a tech coach, or maybe have been a tech coach for a bunch of years. We've got some great things, of course. In addition to our meetings, we've got some free lesson plans for you guys, free templates, free podcasts, a lot of neat things in our behind-the-scenes tech coach mastermind that you're not going to find over on TeacherCast. But in addition to all of that stuff, you guys have a lifetime access to our Facebook online community where we have everybody in our tech coach cohorts right there with you, helping you out, sharing secrets, sharing tips and strategies. All you have to do is go over to teachercast.net/mastermind. That's teachercast.net/mastermind. Now, this is Ask the Tech Coach podcast, episode number 42, and I'm saying that because if you go over and check out our show notes, we have 3 amazing promo codes happening right now that get you discounts on our 2-month, our 6-month, and our 12-month programs. So if you're looking to create a great strategy for yourself to become a tech coach and succeed throughout the school year, check us out over at teachercast.net/mastermind. Our new cohort is forming today. Please check us out and join today before April 1st. Now, Nick, of course, anybody out there that's looking to become a tech coach can easily reach out to us online. We love interacting with tech coaches. We just got done doing a Twitter chat a few weeks ago that I thought that was amazing with the ISD Tech Coaches Network. We're looking forward to doing more work with them. You can always reach out to us on Twitter at AskTheTechCoach or email us at feedback at teachercast.net. If you have any questions about anything that is tech coaching related, podcasting related, anything like that, we would love to reach out and work with you guys today. We've got a lot of tech coaches that we're doing stuff with each and every week, and we would love to have you guys be one of them. And Nick, it wouldn't be Ask the Tech Coach without a little bit of wrap up from our show last week. We did our first part of Tech Coach branding. What kind of feedback did you get, Nick?
Jeff, it was great. I think, what I heard was that these are things that tech coaches are people who aspire to be, are trying to build, right? And Jeff, going back to what we talked with those aspiring in our mastermind group, the idea that they want to know what are the things they need to do in order to kind of build this role or get their district and building in order to kind of create this. So, you're building this personal brand and they're looking for opportunities that they can, work with the district in order to really elaborate and build something that is worthwhile to the teachers there. So I thought that this building, I thought the information that we talked about, your sites and things like that, those are things that we often talk about, things that we do, but they really are a resemblance to everyone out in the world of what your personality is and the audience that you're trying to reach and all those things.
And we hope you had a moment to listen to last week's show. If you haven't listened to last week's show, maybe you want to go back and listen to that before finishing this particular episode off. Really what we're looking to do with these two episodes intertwining is to talk about your tech coach brand, right? Like, what are you known by? How do you get a brand behind you? Nick, what is a brand? Remind us what we had said last week.
Yeah, so a brand is ultimately how you present yourself out to everyone. And that's everything, Jeff, from, you yourself, how you approach people, what you present to the things you put out there in social media and, on your website or artifacts and things that you create. So it's a lot of that stuff. And ultimately, I think this is important for districts and for tech coaches. I mean, when we talk about branding, it's important for you to kind of design and build the brand that you want and not let others perceive a brand that they envision themselves. You want to make sure that you're kind of putting in their heads what you want them to know about you.
Now, last time we worked a little bit on the topics of tech coach websites. We talked a little bit about social media, and we ended by talking a little bit about presentation slide decks. Now, I wanted to bring up this topic because I got an email from somebody asking, why is it important to have a branded slide deck? Like, why can't you just make some slides and have fun? Should you be branding your slide decks for, let's say, the company that you're doing? Let's say you are doing how to do Flipgrid. Should you be making a slide deck that looks like Flipgrid, or should you be making a slide deck that looks like your brand, your website, your colors? Right. Nick, what do you think? Because I mean, you got a lot of different things going on when you do your presentations. Do you come up with like a Nick theme, or are you branding towards the companies that you're promoting? And I'm trying to say that the right way. Mm-hmm. Or are you just making a really cool slide deck with a bunch of animated graphics?
Well, the animated graphics are definitely going to be in there, and they're going to be in there at key moments. So that's just me. But I think that the presentation, I will say, truthfully, I know you do a great job at this. I don't have a particular theme or I don't have a particular theme when it comes to colors and layouts and things like that. I have traditional slide design that I have worked with of when I want to put information on a slide or, show examples and exemplars and artifacts and things like that of things that I've created. I have layouts for that I tend to like. I think for me, it's more about the overall, presentation style. And I have a style that I think is my own with these kind of animated, graphics and images and background with overlaid text. That's just a style that's me. So I go by that. I think, Jeff, you can lend a little bit to the other side, which is something I would definitely like to work on, is building a slide deck that has your themes, your colors, specific layouts for things.
We mentioned it a little bit last week. Again, that's over on Ask the Tech Coach episode number 41 from last week. I have a Google slide deck that has, all of my themed colors from the TeacherCast website. And the last couple slides are nothing but icons. things like the official Microsoft logos, the official Google logos, all the badges that I've gotten, headshots, screenshots, all the things that, while you're sitting there making your next slide deck, you don't want to have to go out every single time and find the official Google Forms logo. So I have a slide deck, and basically every time I create a new presentation, I start from that, make a copy, and now everything is there, right? The fonts are the same, the colors are the same, the layouts are the same. It's all right there. Now, today you and I were working on one of my new slide decks on Google Forms and Sheets. And I kind of did a hybrid where all the colors of the slide deck were the official Google colors. I actually have a great website, maybe I can link to it, that's actually has every single hex color for all the major things. Every major brand, Pepsi, Coke, Google, Microsoft, whatever, it's got the hex codes to it. It's a really cool cheat sheet for you. But each of the slides I changed using master slides to my official fonts. So that way there is a nod to my website, but it also looks googly because we're going into that direction. And so when I'm doing the forms slides, it's purple. And when I'm doing the sheets slides, it's green. So in other words, I'm trying to theme things a little bit. Just to try something a little bit different. And I think when we're finished doing the presentations this week at Meetups, I think I'm going to be popping stuff like that out on our blog and maybe out on SlideShare. So I'm trying to keep it a little bit, brand friendly, but also still a nod to the TeacherCast brand and what we're trying to build here.
And I will say, Jeff, just looking at, your slide deck, and I think it just becomes a part of you and your style, because me looking at it, I did feel I did feel your TeacherCast layout and design, and like I'm looking at those slide decks. So obviously it's hard to break that, but like you're saying, there's nothing wrong with that, and it's great. You're changing some things slightly, ever so slightly, but there's still, like you said, a nod to TeacherCast, which is great because that's your style.
So let's get into some of the new content here. The first thing that we're going to talk about is professional certifications. Now, if you're going to be a tech coach, or if you're looking to be a tech coach, I don't know, Nick. I think this is a must, right? You need to build up your resume, not just on the things that you are doing in the outside world, but also the things that are kind of brand recognized. I mean, if you're going to be a tech coach in a Google school district, you should at least have a resume that says level 1 and level 2 minimum, right?
Right. Absolutely. And I think there's a lot to this. There are so many certifications out there, but just having the opportunity, and Google's, of the big three, really, think about aspiring to achieve at least even level 1 and then making a goal to go through maybe the level 2 trainer and whatever else. But think of the big three. Try to hit Google, try to hit Microsoft, try to hit Apple. And I think there are a lot of districts, my district's one of them, that uses all three platforms. Granted, we are a Google school. We do rely on Google heavily. However, we do offer, Microsoft applications and Office stuff. And we do use MacBooks. Both teachers do have to be comfortable with that as well. So, yeah, I would definitely take some time to go through. Jeff, you've obviously gone further as far as, the Google Innovator and things like that. What has that kind of led to? What do you think that opens up doors wise without giving too many of the secrets away?
Well, before I get to that, let's just let's take a quick step back. I will get to that question here, because with each of these, let's just talk about the three major brands before we talk about other ed tech companies out there. Each of the three major brands has their, I don't even know what the right words are here. Let's call them baseline. Right. Mm-hmm. So for Google, you can earn level 1 and level 2. And when you're looking to do all of that stuff, you are essentially, for Google, you are signing up to take a test. I think it's $10 and $25. You sit down, you take a test, and if you get 80% on your test, you earn said certificate. Right. That is something that you can do. You can take the initiative, and, really the only thing that's stopping you is that test. Right. So that's that. In addition to that, and I don't want to talk about this as climbing the ladder, but if you're looking at it, you have level 1, level 2, and then Google Trainer. Mm-hmm. And Google Trainer, I don't remember all the updated, because I went through the trainer program, I think it's 5 years ago, so it was completely different. But
I can help you out though, so I had to up mine. So
yeah, and essentially once you're a trainer, now you're you need level 1, you need level 2, you need so many hours a week every year. At the end of your 12-month year, you need to show off that you've done X number of trainings, all these different things to keep your training status. Those are really, if you're looking at it as a ladder, those are the 3 things. Now, to answer your question, in 2012, I was fortunate enough to be selected for the Google for Education Innovator Program. Now, that's not, quote, on the ladder. That is a completely separate program. The way you get into that is you apply, you make a video, you write a couple paragraphs. Now there's a program, there's a project that you do. There's a lot of different things in there. It is a fantastic, fantastic program. Each of these things that I'm fortunate enough to have been able to go through have been really, really amazing and eye-opening. Opens up many doors for you. You get onto different email lists, you get onto different listservs, you get a chance, it's like getting the handshake, right? Mm-hmm. That's one of those things that is valuable, right? You get a chance to meet these amazing people, right? And yes, you can certainly meet other people, at conferences. We'll talk about that later, but you get a chance to meet them at a different point.
Sure.
Does that sound right there?
No, absolutely. And I think that's a great, you broke them down. And I think, as you said, I envision it the same exact way. I think Google level 1, level 2 are your basic steps. Obviously, level 2 means the test will be slightly harder. Mm-hmm. Trainer is a nice extension to that, especially if you're someone who's going to be in a tech coach role, because they give you some of the basics and the background of, how could you design a tip sheet or how can you design a slide deck and different things like that. So they give you some things to work on. So I see that as part of the same. And I agree, the innovator is separated because it is its own application process. Like you said, you have to have a project idea or something you're going to show as like your own little genius hour project and things. So I think it's great and something to at least get you started. And especially for a district that maybe doesn't have this position as a tech coach, having your Google and now your Microsoft, if we want to quickly hit on that, and then your Apple, just will show your district that you're taking this seriously. That's what I think. And that they have someone who at least has the basic knowledge and backbone in order to get this job done at their district.
So let's talk a little bit about Microsoft. Microsoft has a fantastic educator community over at education.microsoft.com. They've got online courses, they've got badging. You sign in, and basically they do. We'll call them online courses, right? Because that's essentially what they are. But they've got a ton of modules. Nick, none of them are
gamified too, by the way.
Gamified. None of them are 8 hours, Nick. None of them are 8 hours. But when you go through the baseline. I don't even know if that's still the right word, but when you become an MIE, a Microsoft Innovative Educator. And I remember doing a show where I think Sonia said there was something like 460,000 MIEs on the planet. A huge number. Now, you can become an MIE, I think, any day of the week, any day of the year.
Right. Starting
April 15th. Through January 15th, you can apply and self-nominate yourself to become an MIE, Microsoft Innovative Educator Expert. And I think out of the planet, there might be like 3,000 of those. So there's a huge drop-off on there. And to do that, you need to get so many points, and you need to make a sway, and you need to show off that you're Microsoft-ly, and all those wonderful things, right? Then on top of that, depending on what else you've done with yourself, you can become a Microsoft trainer, which I also have that credential as well. So when you're looking at what does it take to be a tech coach, and we'll talk resumes a little bit later, but saying that you're a Google for Education trainer and a Microsoft trainer, those are things that just help you build your brand for things to come in the future.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
absolutely.
On the Apple side, you have Apple Educator, which is a series of tests. They're very short, but essentially they're a series of tests on the various Apple apps. So you might take a Keynote test, a Pages test. I don't know if there's an iBook author test. I don't think so, but I'm not sure about that. That you can do any day of the week. Every 2 years rolls around, and this is one of the years, you can apply to be an Apple Distinguished Educator. And for me, that's the hardest one of all of them. I no problem saying I tried it 3 times, never got in. But they are specifically looking for people in Apple schools doing Apple things with Apple products. And how are you going to evangelize for that? And so those are if you look at the 3 major companies, they all kind of have those baseline certifications that says, I love doing this. I get it. I'm drinking the Kool-Aid. And then there's that next step where you either have to apply, make a video, get selected by a jury of your peers, whatever it is, take some badges that you have to go along.
Yeah, and that's a good one, Jeff. I've been doing a lot with the Apple Educator certification. I would say, ultimately probably takes anywhere from, 3-4 hours or so as far as just kind of the basic checkups and things like that. But obviously it can be longer depending on how much background you need to read the iBooks on the various apps and things like that. But I have a lot of my teachers going through that. I found that to be a great online one. Along with kind of like Google Level 1 for your teachers in your district to kind of go ahead. But for me, I've done the program. They actually offer it now as the iPad version, and then they have the Mac version. And I think they've now added the Swift, right? The coding, the playground, right, is now part of that as well. So they've extended that. I think you can get another piece or a badge for that. So,
and these things always change, right? When I took my Google Trainer, we actually had to take 5 full-blown tests. It wasn't cheap, but we had to take the Sheets test. We had to take the Docs test, and nobody wanted to take, the Chrome test, I think it was, because, all the extensions and all that extra. It was Jeff, like 3 days.
I remember taking that and some admin level 1 back in the day when that first appeared, and you needed to know the background to email and forwarding and POP and IMAP and all that. It was kind of crazy. And now I think they did away with it. And like you said, that was the piece where you had to pick the 5 various apps. You had to know Android tablets was an extension to some of the training. So yeah, they change all the time.
And that's an amazing test to take. And if you're going to be a tech director or the IT person, go for it. Right? Not needed as the tech coach, right? Different things
Absolutely.
There. Now, under the big 3, there's a ton of other programs, and we're not getting, we'll talk about ambassadors in a second here, but, really everything is an ambassador program, right? It's a badge, it's a t-shirt, it's a thing on your website, all those different things. I know there's a variety of programs that I have joined throughout the years. I am a Canva ambassador. I am an Evernote ambassador. I joined the Lego Master Educator program, which you can join now. They've got some pretty cool things happening over with the Lego Master Educator program. But there's a lot of other companies right now that, as they're starting up and as they're getting going, one of the ways that they get traction is by building these brand ambassador programs. If you're going to be a tech coach, I'm certainly not suggesting that you go and try to get every single badge. I would focus just on the top 3. But if you know that you're applying to a school that likes to use, Edpuzzle, if you know that you're going to be doing an elementary-based tech coaching thing, go get your Flipgrid and your Edpuzzle cert, and at least that gives you an opportunity to interact with the people on the Edpuzzle and Flipgrid team, and you get a chance to share the other resources and stuff. I mean, it's really all about how much time do you want to put into all these things, I think is what we're coming down to.
Yeah, definitely. Absolutely. It's a lot of handshakes, and you make it into some groups. Just like you said, I have some, Edpuzzle, I think Flipgrid, Remind, I remember doing that one back, years, especially working with the marching band in the past and things like that. So Schoology is one that's great because that's been a lot of handshakes. That's been being able to make connections with people all over from all different roles and things like you said. And Jeff, I remember hearing at FETC when we were there, Merge, saying that they were working on an ambassador program. So now, if you're a district that's focusing on AR, VR, and you want to look into that, check out Merge's ambassador program. They were talking a lot about it at FETC, and then I think it came up again at TCEA. TCEA. I don't think we weren't there, so I wasn't there. So, but I heard it came up. I think there was a little article about it. So
that's a little bit about professional certifications. And when we come back from our short break here, we're going to talk a little bit about attending conferences. I'm so excited that it's ISTE season. We'll be right back. Friends, before we move on with our show, I wanted to let you guys know I have been in education now for almost 20 years, and I've seen the changes some students have come to face every single day. Whether it's going through school hungry, not being able to see a doctor when they're sick, or not getting the proper rest at night, these challenges make it hard for kids to focus on their learning. I remember a story of a student who came to my office one day and she could barely stay awake due to all the circumstances happening around her at home that were beyond her control. I didn't know what I could do, and I wanted to be able to help her out in any way that I could. Thankfully, Concordia University in Portland is leading the way with their 3 to PhD program that helps to combat students' fears, freeing them to pursue their highest dreams. They're revolutionizing education by creating a holistic model that provides groceries, healthcare, and even clothing to students right here on campus, helping them thrive and helping our communities strengthen and grow. Concordia's College of Education offers online and on-campus programs where students have the opportunity to learn about a more compassionate approach to education and see how nurturing the whole student can lead to amazing things. To learn more about how you can help students conquer their monsters and achieve their highest dreams, visit cu-portland.edu/let's conquer. That's cu-portland.edu/let's conquer. And use the hashtag #NatureEducateGrow. And we are back here at Ask the Tech Coach. This is episode number 42. We're talking all about building our Tech Coach brand. And, you know, Nick, I love it. This time of year, it is ISTE season. We're already talking about presentations and things that you're doing. Now, Nick, you got accepted to do a few presentations at ISTE. I got accepted to do a few presentations at ISTE. What are you looking forward to this year in Philadelphia?
Yeah, I'm excited to be there. I mean, it's close to home, Jeff. So that's my first happiness here is I don't have to go too far. I'm still close to the wife and the kids. So that's a good thing. And if I ever want to just drive out there, I can take, probably the hour ride and be out in Philly. So that's terrific. I'm excited to present. I'll be presenting on blasting professional development out of this world, which is going to be how to basically 0 to 60 of how do we take basic professional development as it might be done in your district, and how do you enhance it? How do you meet the needs of all of your teachers, and how do you gamify and do all these different things? So I'm excited to share a little of an interactive, engaged presentation, if you will, about this topic. And I'm passionate about it, and I love sharing all the work that I've been doing. And I actually have a colleague of mine who I've shared some of these things with in a nearby district, and he's also now gamified and done some PD stuff in his district. So where he's going to share his accomplishments. So I'm excited to kind of to get out and be there. And Jeff, we're going to meet up hopefully, and again, shake hands, make those handshakes, and speak to a lot of people.
If you're out at ISTE, I have a great session on Saturday. We're going to be doing our podcasting workshop. That's a 2-hour or 3-hour hands-on workshop that we're looking forward to. And on Monday, I've got a podcasting, I don't know if you want to call it a lecture. I think they're doing it, but it's gonna be hands-on. We had a good time last year in Chicago doing it. We're coming back this year to do it again. If you're looking to do podcasting, don't forget we've got some great resources over on TeacherCast. Just head on over to podcastingwithstudents.com. Podcastingwithstudents.com. We got some great things for you, and of course we're gearing up to ISTE, and of course that brings up the topic here of how should we handle conferences, right? You and I right now are going to be presenting this weekend actually in Metuchen, New Jersey at the Tech conference. And we talk about this a lot. You and I have completely different approaches to doing presentations. I like to do things that are kind of fun and exciting, and you like to do things that are popular and fill the room. Talk to us a little bit about choosing topics. Let's kind of talk about choosing topics here.
Well, I don't always know that they're going to fill the room, Jeff. But, I do pick what I think is going to be, what I think might actually get a lot of people there. One of the things I don't do is I don't try to name drop. That's just me. I don't try to name drop, Google or Apple or things like that. I don't specifically say the app that I'm working with, because a lot of times for me, it's more about the pedagogy, not specifically about one app, because I always feel like there's so many that you can do. But so when I choose topics to present, I go with I go pedagogically. I go with what's going to make an impact on how you can really transform your teaching. And a lot of times that's doing something with blended learning, doing something that incorporates, what I'm doing at METech, digital playlists, and how that can be used for self-paced, self-directed learning and personalized learning. So that's really the title of my presentation is, digital playlists to personalized learning. I mean, I'm throwing in one of the key terms there, personalized learning, which is hot among a lot of districts in education right now. But a lot of people, surprisingly, haven't heard of digital playlists still. So, HyperDocs to me were kind of that beginning, and now we're kind of branching out into these more interactive programs. So that's my focus. That's how I do it. Jeff, yep, yours is different than mine. So how do you pick yours?
I do a lot based off of what I like to do. I've been doing a lot of how to do podcasting because we're getting a lot of questions about all that stuff. Also, I kind of have a small content strategy with TeacherCast where if I'm building out a workshop or if I'm building out a presentation, and I consider those things a little bit different. If I'm building out blog posts, I want to make a page on TeacherCast that has everything all in one shot and then show it off at different conferences, at the smaller ones, at the larger ones. I like to, I have my standards. For instance, again, this weekend, we're going to be doing Google Slide animations. I love doing that. I know that's a crowd favorite. We've been doing it since ISTE 2012, I believe it is. And every time I do that, it is a nice sized crowd and everybody has a good time. And I'm not gonna fudge things. I also do topics that are going to gain subscribers to the podcast, right? So if you know you're going to do something, let's do it on a topic that you are maybe coming up with on a future episode. And every time that I do a presentation, it's an opportunity to grab people and say, hey, join the newsletter, join the mastermind, join the Facebook group, join the whatever. So I always have a few different strategies. You never want to do a topic that you're bored with. You never want to do a topic that you're not going to enjoy presenting. But,
right.
Even with you, Nick, somebody, a couple times have come up and say, hey, Nick, you do this thing really, really well. Can you do it at my workshop? And You're like, wonderful. Of course I'm going to do that stuff.
Absolutely. And I think you nailed it, Jeff. I think the whole idea is, pick topics you are passionate about, that you're going to be energetic about. That's one of the things that, if there's any kind of, pat in the back that I love to hear is, I loved your session. It was energetic, it was engaging. And that to me is all right. Then that was my goal. I tried most of my workshops with teachers to be that way. Be it 2 teachers or 10 or 20 that show up, to a PD session. So the whole thing though, is I think that's important because we're talking about building a brand and you want to make sure that you're getting people, that are acknowledging you for the work and that they find it engaging and interactive. And hey, maybe they ask you to come out and, to their district or do something like that, which just lends itself to, again, extending your brand.
And I think no matter if you're presenting in your school district or if you're presenting at ISTE, if you're presenting at an ed camp, come up with some kind of a hook in your presentation that people are going to leave and go, I remember that person, or, hey, I'm going to make sure that we reach out, or, hey, remember that guy did that awesome looking thing that did this, and this, right? So it's a matter of always coming up with these amazing little, and again, it's no different than ditch that textbook. Trying to get Matt on the show here to talk a little bit about his branding strategy, which is flawless and brilliant. But always have that one thing that people are going to remember you by. What is it? It could be a trick. It could be a tool. I remember talking to John Sowash on a recent podcast, and I said, what is the one trick that every single time you do a Google training, you just pull out of your back pocket, put that card on the table, and people go, wow. And, you should come up with that one little thing. Right? Because you never know. You never know where you could be doing with all that stuff. Now, in addition to finding the right presentation topic, Nick, sometimes the best ed camp sessions are not in actual classrooms. They're not in presentation rooms. Yep. Sometimes the best ed camp sessions happen at the tables, in the chairs, in the hallways, just standing up between 2 or 3 people. Sometimes those are the best conference sessions Now, you've got a couple ideas here. You've got things like meetups, edtech company parties, and something called CoffeeEDU.
Yep. Yeah, so obviously that's not created by me. That was what Alice Keeler, right, started
Mm-hmm.
the Coffee EDU trend. But it happens at all the big conferences, FETC, TCA, ISTE. It's going to happen, I'm sure. And there's always these Coffee EDU meetups in the mornings, and they're great because they're opportunities for you to, in a informal way, get to know some of these big names in education, which is great always to meet some of these people that you look up to, but for tech coaches, just to bounce ideas, Jeff, I know we've talked about it at FETC, and maybe we'll be able to pull it off at ISTE as a little tech coaches meetup, and see who's there, or people just want to kind of chat. But these are great opportunities. I also love the EdTech party, the company parties, when you get invited to these things, because I say party, some of them go all out. They have DJs, they've got food and things like that. But again, these are opportunities to just, hey, let's chat a little bit. And what are you doing? And let me know some of the ins of, of Schoology or whatever, Canvas or whatever, app that you're in, company that you're kind of in talks with. Flipgrid, who I heard threw an awesome party.
So definitely take a moment when you're at the conferences, right? Reach out to these people. ISTE always has their bloggers cafe. They've got some great places to go out and meet these people, meet other tech coaches, get your name out there, start swapping business cards. Find ways to network and connect with other people, because that's really what sets up, at least for TeacherCast, that's what sets up our editorial calendar for the year. You go out to ISTE, you come back with a bunch of cards, and you just start figuring out, okay, who can come on to this show? Who's going to be awesome for this topic? What can you do? Where can you go? Make friends at these conferences. And, that's also where you find out where the job openings are. That's where you find out where the other conferences are. That's where you get introduced to new topics and new things, and you start taking notes. Can't say enough. Spend some great time at conferences this year going out. And if you guys are going to ISTE, we would love to meet you guys. And if you are interested in putting together a tech coach meetup, let us know. You can find us on Twitter at AskTheTechCoach. Email us over at feedback@teachercast.net, or of course, leave us a voice message over at teachercast.net/voicemail. We would love to hear from you guys and have you guys on our show. And speaking of which, Nick, next week we're going to be doing our roundtable show on these topics, where we love to bring on other tech coaches to talk about this stuff. We are looking for a few more tech coaches, so if you're listening to this show on the day that it drops or the next couple of days, let us know. We would love to have you on the show talking all about your tips and tricks for tech coach branding. In addition to that, we're going to be talking a little bit about how to get our tech coach jobs. Nick, this is something we're going to be dealing with a lot on our mastermind. We're going to be actually doing a full mastermind meeting sometime in the early April here of how to get a tech coach job. It's not easy, but I think if you kind of listen to what we've been talking about with all the different branding techniques and getting out there on social, getting at your certificates, it's not that difficult. So let's just take a couple minutes here, Nick, and just kind of mull over some of the things that we're looking at here. What does a tech coach resume look like?
Yeah, I think it's got to be, it's got to have a lot of highlighting of accomplishments. And I think that's a big piece because, be it a new or tech coach that is looking to aspire, or someone aspire to be a tech coach, you want to be able to show off and highlight some of the accomplishments of things you've done. Have you worked with teachers one-to-one? Have you been involved in any admin meetings that maybe are discussions about, building district goals and objectives, and can you show data on how you've met certain expectations and things like that? So I think the resume has to do that, but it also has to have your personality in it, right? They have to kind of feel you in that, which goes along with like your slide deck and things like that. So I think that's a big piece. I also think your cover letter, Jeff, has to be reminiscent of the resume, and not just take it in a formal way and talk about resumes and cover letters. But I think for the tech coach, again, what were the accomplishments? Put it into sort of this little story, anecdotal exemplar of what you did and how you helped your district in certain ways, and what you're going to offer the district that you're obviously applying for, and why you'll meet those goals for them.
And obviously, like anything else, do your research on the district. If you're doing a Google district, then I would reformat your district, your resume stuff to say, here's my trainer badge for Google, and here's my Google slide decks. And if you're going for a Microsoft school, change the order of that stuff around, right? It's just a matter of highlighting the accomplishments. I would even recommend making the same slide deck 2 different ways, because you never know, right? You can do a Google slide deck and export it to a PowerPoint format very, very easily.
Right.
Why not have both formats in there to show that you are versatile with all the different applications?
Yeah.
When it comes to exemplars and when it comes to artifacts, it does kind of tie into social media. Like, are you out there pushing what you're doing? Are you pushing blog posts? Are you pushing how-tos? And I also believe in there that, references come before you apply sometimes, right? Like, if you've got a nice social media profile, if you're out there doing googly things or Microsoft things and people are seeing you, sometimes your references are the people that say to the superintendent, hey, you got to go get that person before you even know about the job opening up or before you even know how to apply. You never know who's watching you at these different conferences.
Definitely, Jeff. One of the things I remember reading a handful of years ago, it was from, God, I can't remember the site, but I remember her, Candace Davies. She does a lot with like teacher resume writing and stuff. But one of the things she said is, keeping an eye on the jobs that actually aren't the jobs that are posted. And how do you find out about that job and that opening is through word of mouth and through references. So, talk to people, shake hands, everything we've kind of talked about already, but make sure that your references have connections. And I always say with references, just make sure that they're going to say the good things. They're going to say what you want them to say, that they are going to be passionate about the work that you've done as well. So be picky about those people that you use as the references, so that they can highlight you in the way that you want them to highlight you. Jeff, I'll say too, with artifacts, I had a great getting into the role that I'm in with my district. I've been here now 3 going on 4 years at my district. One of the things too is show the artifacts. One of the things that my district was really looking for was someone who had experience in blended learning and gamification and all that. And that was a strong suit of mine. That was one of the reasons why I think I am in this role, because I was able to highlight how I revamped the class to do all of those things. And my goal was, how do I bring that to professional development, which I have since done. So, highlight those things that are your artifacts and how they are meeting the goals and objectives of the district you're applying for.
So we want to know what you guys think. If you have any tips and tricks on anything branding, we would love to hear from you guys. Again, next week we're going to be doing, it's our Tech Coach Roundtable, but we're really going to be calling it Part 3 to really put a wrap up on everything here. But Nick, we've gone through the gambit here of branding, talking about certifications, conferences, resumes, social media, websites. Is there anything that we haven't hit yet?
No, Jeff, I think we've got, I'm sure something will come up later that you and I will go, man, that was one more. But I think for the bulk of it, I think we've got it. And I think hopefully we've given everyone enough information as far as how they can get started building their brand.
So we want to know what you guys think. Please reach out to us over on Twitter at AskTheTechCoach. You can, of course, find all of our resources, our podcasts, our blogs over at AskTheTechCoach.com. We're constantly adding to that. And if you guys out there are looking for some amazing professional development, please join us over on the Tech Coach Mastermind and join the TeacherCast Tech Coaches Network today. We've got some great plans, 2-month, 6-month, and 12-month plans. We are here to help you become the best tech coach that you can be. And it is a great opportunity. We even are able to work with your school districts. So, if you're able to get them to flip the bill, we are happy to help you guys out with that stuff too. Just check out all the information over at teachercast.net/mastermind. That's teachercast.net/mastermind. And don't forget to use our promo codes. You can find them all over at Ask the Tech Coach Podcast. This is episode number 42, Asking About Your Tech Coach Brand, Part 2. Of course, as we said, on our next episode, we're going to be doing our Tech Coach Roundtable. But the week after that, Nick, we've got a great show for you. We have our friends from Schoology coming on, talking all about standard-based grading. Nick, what are we going to talk about with standard-based grading?
So we're going to find out and talk to them about it, because I have a feeling, I have an itch that they're doing a lot with standard-based grading, and how they're going to merge that maybe into their grade books and things like that. So they're going to talk about, what it is. And I'm sure we're going to talk about, how to maybe manipulate and create that. It's getting away from percentages and moving into almost more skill-based learning. How have you met those standards or those objectives, and what points do we put on their achievement of those things? So that's a very basic level. But Jeff, I think it's an exciting show with some of my friends over at Schoology.
So don't forget to check that out. We've got some great stuff going on this spring as the weather gets warmer. And please take a moment. We don't talk about this enough, Nick, but if you guys are enjoying this show, please check us out over on Apple Podcasts. Leave us a great suggestion, a great, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't even talk about it a lot. Leave a message for us over on Apple Podcasts. We would love to hear from you guys, and the only way that this show gets out there is by friends like you guys suggesting this to others. So please take a moment and share Ask the Tech Coach and all the shows on the TeacherCast Educational Network with your PLN. It would be greatly appreciated. So, Nick, where can we find more information about the things that you are doing now that you are such a busy guy this year?
So, obviously, my website, so everyone can check out some posts, which I got to update. I've been working on 3 at the same time. But you can find me at nicholasamorel.com. You can find me on Twitter at @NAmorelEDU.
And of course, you can find out all the great things over on teachercast.net. Leave us a voice message at teachercast.net/voicemail and email us at feedback@teachercast.net. On behalf of Nick and everybody here on the TeacherCast Educational Network, my name is Jeff Bradbury.
And I'm Nick Amorel.
Reminding you to keep up the great work in your classrooms and continue sharing your passions with your students.